A lot of social media has you convinced that you need to spend several hard hours in the gym each week to make any real progress. Make it to the end of this video and you'll learn the truth. Backed by peer-reviewed research, I'll show you exactly how much time and effort you need for most of your possible growth. And I guarantee the numbers will surprise you. You've seen it, heard it, probably believed it at some point. 5 days a week minimum. If you're not sore, you didn't work hard enough. If you missed a day, you're behind. More volume, more frequency, always more. And if you're not doing it all, you're not making progress. I don't blame you for believing it. This message is everywhere and it's loud. And when you're staring down a list of 20 things you're supposed to be doing in the gym while you're struggling to just make it there, it can feel like you're already losing. I lived this. When I was 16, I heard more is more, and I took it literally. Every session, every week, every set, I set out to destroy my body. I kept my legs so consistently sore that I thought jogging on a baseball field was supposed to hurt. And I thought, good. That means it's working.
But the problem wasn't and isn't effort. Most people who show up to the gym are willing to work. The problem is that nobody's ever shown them what the research actually says about how much work they need. They just keep saying more, and more doesn't have a finish line.
So let's take a look at the data. Not what your favorite influencer says, not what the big guy at your gym says, what the peer-reviewed research says about exactly how much volume you need to build most of the muscle you're ever going to build. This isn't one study. This is 15 years of research converging on the same answer. 3 studies, here's what they found. In 2017, Brad Schoenfeld published a meta-regression on weekly training volume and muscle growth. If we scroll down to his practical application section, we find this. Clearly, substantial gains can be made using low volume protocols, 4 or fewer weekly sets per muscle group. Such an approach represents a viable muscle building option for those who are pressed for time. Here's what the data showed. Schoenfeld split weekly sets into 3 categories, low, moderate, and high, then tracked the muscle growth across all of them. Low volume meant fewer than 5 sets per muscle per week and produced equivalent muscle gain of 5.4%. Moderate volume meant 5 to 9 sets and produced 6.6% gains. Then high volume meant 10 or more sets per week and produced 9.8% gains. Now, we need to stop and think about these numbers because the fitness industry wants you dropping everything to chase 9.8%. But 5.4% is not only significant muscle growth, it's probably exactly what most people are actually after. For less than half the volume.
Okay, Schoenfeld tells us what's possible at low volumes, but what if you want more? How much does each additional set actually buy?
In 2025, Pelland published the most comprehensive analysis of training volume and muscle growth to date. And if I'm being honest, when I got to table 3 of this paper, I had to put it down for a second because it answers the 2 questions everyone in the gym truly wants to know. Am I doing enough in here, and do I really need to do more? Think about the best meal you've ever had. The first few bites are everything, and that's your 4 sets. Every bite after that is still food, still fine. But by bite 18, you're not even hungry anymore. You're just eating because the plate is in front of you. Now, let me show you what this looks like in the gym, quantified as sets and visualized as a bunch of good looking dudes. And to be clear, I'm using these physiques to show you the size of each jump in muscle, not promising that you'll look exactly like these guys in 6 months. That depends on a lot more than set count, but it does paint the picture. So say you want to look like the bear, Jeremy Allen White. That's your first few bites. Tier 1 lifting, 4 sets per muscle per week. That is where you first start seeing some muscle growth. But say you want more. Say you're going for prime Zac Efron. That's the next few bites, and it'll cost you 6 more sets on top of the original 4. We're now at 10 sets per muscle per week for a smaller bump than the first 4 bought you. And for some of you, prime Zac Efron isn't enough. You may be going for a Wolverine look. For that, you'll probably need special supplementation. But for the sake of this argument, we'll call that tier 3 lifting. 8.5 more sets on top of the previous 10. Now you're at 18.5 total. Think about that. You started at 4 sets, you tripled your volume and then some. And all you bought was 2 more jumps in muscle, each one smaller than the last. And I hear you, I get it. Wolverine look sounds very cool, and 18.5 sets doesn't sound too bad, but that's per muscle group per week. Do that for every major muscle group and you're looking at 200 plus sets per week. Most of y'all ain't sniffing 200 sets in a year. Now, I do want to be clear with this argument. Pellin found no clear plateau. The more sets you do, the more gains you get. But here's what I keep coming back to. 4 sets per muscle per week probably takes you 10 minutes of actual work. And that's enough to build real, measurable muscle. Everything after that is harder and harder work for smaller and smaller returns. And here's what none of these studies measured. Pellin flagged it himself. Injury, burnout, the psychological weight of a training program you can't actually sustain. This doesn't show up in any training study or meta-regression, but it shows up in your life and it shows up in the people who quit. 4 hard sets per muscle per week is where growth starts. That's all you need right now. Do it this week, then do it again next week. If you still want more, we can get to more. But first, you have to earn the right for more. One problem with everything I just told you, almost none of it will work for you. Not because Schoenfeld got it wrong, not because Pellin failed high school statistics. The research is solid, but those 4 sets, the ones that buy you everything, they only work if they're actually hard. And I mean genuinely, uncomfortably, last rep took everything in me hard. Not average Joe at LA Fitness hard.
After 10 plus years in corporate gyms, I've noticed one very important thing. Most people end their sets when it gets uncomfortable. Not when they can't do another rep, but when they don't want to. Really big difference, and that difference is the gap between a set that builds muscle and a set that mostly burns time. So next time, if you finish your set and think, I probably could have done a couple more, you just didn't finish your set.
So, before you build your 4-set program and call it done, ask yourself an honest question. Have you ever actually trained to the point where you had nothing left? Because if the answer is no, how many sets you do and how long you spend in the gym are the least of your problems.
So what does hard actually mean? And what does the research say about how close to your limits you actually need to get?
To understand why training hard is non-negotiable, we first need to understand one thing about how our muscles actually work. In 1957, Mr. Elwood Henneman described what's now called the size principle. That as force demand on a muscle increases, motor units are recruited in order of size. So small, low threshold units first, and then larger, higher threshold motor units as the demand grows. Your body is efficient. It only uses what it needs. Give it an easy set and it'll only use those smaller, weaker muscle fibers. But push harder and harder and the small fibers fatigue, so your body has to recruit larger, more powerful fibers to pick up the slack. Those large fibers, what we call type 2 fibers, are where most of your gains live. They're stronger, bigger, and they respond to training stimulus more dramatically than their smaller counterparts. But your body will never tell them to grow if you never let them work. And they won't work until the type 1 fibers can't handle the load. So if you're ending your sets with 3, 4, 5 reps left in the tank, your type 2 fibers never got recruited. And a fiber that never got recruited never had a reason to grow. So now the question becomes, how hard is hard enough? How close to that edge do you actually need to get? So let's go back to the research, because train hard is vague, and I don't like vague. You deserve a number, or as close to a number as the science can give us. First, a 2022 meta-analysis by Gergich looked at a simple question. Do you have to train all the way to failure? Literally the point where you physically cannot complete another rep to build muscle. And the short answer was no. But let's talk about what this finding means and what it doesn't. Yes, across all the studies Gergich looked at, there is no statistically significant difference between training to absolute failure and stopping just short of it. But the nuance here matters. No significant difference does not mean failure is pointless. It means that, as of now, the evidence is mixed, and grinding every set to absolute failure probably isn't worth what it costs you. But there was one finding inside Gergich's analysis that I want you to hear. When researchers looked specifically at people who'd been lifting for a long time, training closer to failure did produce significantly more muscle growth. The more experienced you are in the gym, the more training to failure does for you. In 2023, Refalo took this a step further, and this is where things get real useful. Refalo found that the relationship between how close you train to failure and how much muscle you build isn't a straight line. Going from an easy set to a moderately hard set saw a big jump in growth, but going from a moderately hard set to full out failure, that extra benefit mostly disappears. And the reason why makes a lot of sense. Going to absolute failure on every set is like sprinting the first mile of a 5K. By mile 2, no one is close to you. You're dominating. But the rest of that mile and mile 3 are a different story. Not because you didn't work hard, but because you spent everything before the race was over. That's what grinding to failure on set 1 does to sets 2, 3, and 4. You absolutely expose the muscle to maximum tension in set 1, but you pay for it with weaker, more fatigued sets for the rest of the session. So, my takeaway from Reflow's great work is this. Take every set close to failure. Close enough that the last few reps are a grind, but you don't need to leave your soul on the gym floor every session. Me personally, I think you should every once in a while, because knowing your true limits is good for said soul, but you don't have to live there.
This is where the volume research and intensity research meet. Build your 4-set per muscle per week program, but those 4 sets only count if you take them close to failure. Somewhere around 1 to 2 reps left in the tank. Get there, and those 4 hard sets will do what 15 lazy sets never will. Here's what all this looks like for me, because I'm not telling you to do anything I don't do myself. I'm 14 weeks out from stepping on a natural bodybuilding stage. I'm a full-time chemical engineer, and I'm trying to optimize every hour I spend in the gym, just like you're trying to. My current program is on the higher end of that volume curve we looked at, closer to 10 sets per muscle group per week, 13 muscle groups total, training 6 out of every 8 days. But that's me trying to optimize for that last 1% of muscle before I step on stage. That's probably not you. And honestly, it didn't used to be me either.
So let's build your program, and let's build it as efficiently as possible. By pattern, not by muscle. Because most people walk in the gym thinking in terms of muscles. Chest day, leg day, arm day. But the research doesn't care what you call it. It just cares whether you're giving your muscles enough stimulus to grow. There are 6 patterns that cover nearly every muscle that matter for how you look and how you move. A horizontal push, a vertical push, a horizontal pull, a vertical pull, a knee dominant movement, and a hip dominant movement. Hit those 6 and you've trained your whole body, because each pattern trains several muscles at the same time. You don't need 15 exercises, you need 6.
6 movements, 4 hard sets per movement per week, split across 2 full body sessions. So 2 sets per movement each time you show up.
And again, the most important rule, the one that almost nobody enforces. Every one of those sets ends 1 to 2 reps short of failure. Close enough that you're fighting hard, but not leaving your soul on the gym floor. Doing sets is easy, but doing hard sets is what will make the difference.
Here's what making the difference looks like. First few reps are pretty easy, really just filling the space until we get to the hard reps that actually matter. Then we get to the end. The bar slows down, my face changes, everything tenses up, and I keep pushing. This is 1 to 2 reps left in the tank. If your sets don't look similar, you're leaving growth on the table.
So what's the time commitment here? 6 movements, 4 sets each, 1.5 minutes rest between sets. 2 sessions a week. Should take you 90 minutes total for the whole week. Not per session, for the whole week. And I want you to sit with that, because that's less time than a lot of people spend in the gym on some random Tuesday. And it's a week-long prescription the research actually supports.
Best part is, this is sustainable. You can run this for years without burning out, without getting hurt, without hating the gym. And if you're the person who trains 90 focus minutes a week for 10 years, you will physically demolish the person who burns out on a 2-hour-a-day program in 3 months. Consistency you can sustain beats intensity you can't. Now, I'll take you back to 16-year-old me. 10 sets of squats to failure every single week. Legs to wreck to run the bases. Absolutely convinced that suffering was the point. I didn't need to destroy myself. I needed 4 hard sets a week and the patience to see it through. I spent years paying more than full price for something I could have gotten for almost nothing. Nobody showed me that, so I'm showing you. 10 years earlier, then I figured it out. If you take one thing from all this, take this. You don't need more hours in the gym. You need harder sets and the consistency to repeat them. That's what the research says. That's what 10 years in the gym taught me. And now, you know it too. If this is the kind of thing you want more of, simple storylines, teaching simple reviews of the literature, subscribe and stick around. Next time, I'll show you how to make those 4 hard sets take even less time in the gym. We will see you then.